Hello and welcome. In this tutorial we're going to be using a bunch of microbits that we have to send data that they collect through to a central microbit. In this case it's the one with the light on and no name. Notice the others all have names. The name isn't really that important, just as long as we can differentiate which microbit is sending the data through. Let's get stuck into it. We're going to use a project called multiple sensors, and there needs to be two different pieces of code written, one for the microbits that are going to act as sensors, which are the ones with the names on them, and then another totally separate piece of code for the microbit which is receiving all of the data, and it's the one without a name. So we'll start with the blocks of code for the microbits that will be sending through the data. So I'm going to plug one of those in. The one I've chosen is called line, and I'm going to just create my code for this. So you might remember that in a previous video we used X and Y to help create our seismograph. This time we're going to use strength, and I'm going to show you what you need to do in order to get that to work fairly accurately. Let's do a little bit of experimentation to start off with. If I just grab this plot bar graph and I put it in as the acceleration of X and leave it up to 0 at the moment. If it looks like I'm connected, so if I download to my microbit, you can see that because I've got it up to 0, it's highly sensitive. If I change the up to 0 to up to 1024 and then download, you'll see that it's much less sensitive. That's okay if I want to use X, and I've already shown you that we can plot another bar graph or show when Y is occurring by simply duplicating all of this and changing that to Y. There is a better way, and that's what I want to show you now. So this time I'm going to use the acceleration strength level, and if I make that up to, let's say, 2048, and if I pair my device, I can then download it, and you can see that straight away, because strength is a combination of X, Y and Z axes, it is reporting the magnitude that it is sensing of gravity and what effect gravity is having. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce that down by taking away the effect of gravity. Now on a microbit, gravity is detected at about 1023, 1024. So let's work with that. I'm going to take that value away from this acceleration. What I need to do is go into the maths and choose this minus, and then I can say acceleration minus 1023, and let's see how that looks if we put all of that into our block. If I download that, then I can see that it is hardly rating. Now if I move it a little bit in different directions, up and down, left and right, and forward and back, it indicates that it is sensing acceleration in one or more of the different axes. So just look at that in our device and take a look here. You can see that our numbers are going between a positive value and a negative value. So if I shake it, you can see that it's going to minus 431 plus it's going to positive 1700 and so on. So what I can do, if I don't want the negative numbers, or I want the negative numbers to appear as positive as well, I can tell my code that I want the absolute value of all of this, and what the absolute value does is it takes away any negative signs. If I now download it, in fact I could even make this up to 1024, why not? It just makes it a little bit more sensitive. And if I look at it as a value, you can see that now 0 is my basically my baseline, and as I move the microbit, all of the numbers being reported are positive values. So with that in mind, I can now go ahead and create my code. What I want this microbit to do is not plot a bar graph, but to actually send through the values that it is receiving. Now, the value at the moment, if I take a look at my console device, at this point, it's about 35. So what I want my microbit to be able to do is when it notices quite a substantial shift, so even to the point of where it was around 100, that's when I want to start reporting so that I know that something has occurred. So with that maths in mind, let's see what we can do. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to start creating my code. I don't want the plot bar graph, but I will want this bit. What I want the microbit to do, I want it to make a decision based on whether or not it has sensed movement of a magnitude greater than about 100. If I go to my logic, I can use this if condition, and what I can say is if the absolute of the acceleration strength minus 1023 is greater than 100. I'll just move the emulator out of the way so that we've got a bit more space to work in. If the absolute of the acceleration strength, so if what it's detecting on the X, Y or Z axes, take away 1023 to account for gravity and using absolute so that we just get positive numbers. If that is greater than 100, then I want it to report that information. If the value is greater than 100, I want to store the result in a variable. So I'm going to create a variable, and my variable is going to be called, let's call it shake detected. If that value is greater than 100, then I'm going to set shake detected to whatever that is. So I can just copy this. So whatever the value is that it's detecting, it's going to store it in a variable called shake detected. What I want to do is, if that occurs, I want to send some data off. In the next tutorial, we'll take a look at how to send that data off using the radio blocks in the microbit make code. I'll talk to you then.